Welcome back to the January 25th, 2022 meeting of the Hauppauge Community 3 School District Board of Education. We're back in executive session. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4 on the agenda is Superintendent's update. Dr. Murphy.
Mr. Marche, good evening, everybody. Just a couple of highlights from around the district. I do want to acknowledge even just tonight apparently the boys basketball team, varsity basketball team was in a grueling match. They did not come out on top, and I just heard that they played Deer Park and they played an outstanding game, and I just wanted to recognize them since that game just finished a time ago. Next, last meeting, I forgot to mention, got to congratulate Hauppauge girls swimming and diving coach Mr. Leonetti on being named Newsday's Long Island Coach of the Year. Hauppauge's Smithtown girls swim team won the first Section 11 county championship in 36 years this past season, so certainly deserving for Mr. Leonetti. Second, recently in the Horizons, we highlighted high school senior Joseph Matthew, who was announced by the New York State Ed Department as a nominee for the 2022 U.S. Presidential Scholars Program. He was nominated by New York legislator Mike Fitzpatrick, so just an incredible honor for Hauppauge High School senior Joseph Matthew. And then the middle school will be presenting Music Man Jr. on January 28th and 29th at 7 p.m. in the middle school auditorium. Hoping that, as always, the community is out to support our arts program. Tickets can be obtained by reaching out to the Fine and Performing Arts Office at 870-5781. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Murphy. Number 5 on the agenda, recognitions, awards, presentation, adoption of minutes. We have no recognitions and awards tonight. 5B is a presentation, Spotlight, Civics in the Hauppauge School District, presented by Doreen Gordon, our Director of Social Studies and Business.
Yeah, I'll just add a little intro here as well. This year, we are looking to add some spotlight presentations to each of our board meetings. 10 and 15-minute presentation to highlight some of the great things that are going on in our district. Certainly civics is an important part of a student's education. Mrs. Gordon's here from Social Studies and Business Department to focus on this topic. We often think of civics as learning about our government and voting, but there's so much more to civics education. So I'll turn it over now to Mrs. Gordon. Thanks so much for coming today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's really exciting to be talking about, I can take this off, to be talking about something that's going on in the schools. And it's true, when you think of civics, you think of learning about New York State government, learning about United States government, learning about world governments. But there's so much more to civics, and it's really been kind of an interesting journey for me. I've been in the elementary schools, the middle school, and the high school, and talking about where do we see civics in our school. And if you were privileged to either come and see the high school, and that was for September 11th, or for Veterans Day, and see either one of those pictures, you get a real feeling of Americana, of really where civics are and where we're going. And it's really important that we get kids and we get students to understand civics so that we can get kids to vote, because that 18 to 22-year-old area is still like 19% of them are voting. And it's kind of scary because we really want to have kids vote at a really early age, and they have such an exposure to that, and they're so lucky to have the advantages that they have at Hauppauge schools. So this is obviously something I'm not going to read, but these are the social studies standards. We have 5 major standards: history of the United States and New York, world history, geography, economics, civics, citizenship, and government. And this is the standards on which all of social studies revolves around. So it's really important that we remember that those 5 standards are broken up into 13 years of social studies. So in 2015, we saw that ESSA replaced No Child Left Behind. And ESSA was something that Every Student Succeed Act actually said that a highly qualified, engaged civic learning has a capacity to build better students, relevance, and also to get kids more college and career ready. So for the first time, civics was really recognized as something that's important in New York State and in also the United States. So the question comes, what is the civic education? So it's not only the knowledge of history, principles, foundation of our government and other governments, but it's also the ability to participate in that democratic process. And students have many chances to do that at Hauppauge, and we're going to talk about some of those. It's also about civic learning, how to address public problems individually in groups, how to do some problem solving, and how to also look at both sides of the story, right? That there's not one single story, but there's a lot that goes on. And also take all of this and put it into those 5 standards of social studies. And this comes from the National Council for the Social Studies organization. So this is the New York State Social Studies framework, and this is from kindergarten to 8th grade. That's how the state breaks it up. So in kindergarten, appropriately, kids are learning about their self and others. You can see all the way through to my family and other families now and long ago, my community and other communities around the world. New York State and local history and government, and in 5th grade, the Western Hemisphere, in 6th grade, the Eastern Hemisphere. And then in 7th and 8th grade, we really go into those units of study of social studies where kids have to take a full year of social studies that is mandated by New York State, the history of the United States in New York State 1, which goes from the beginning of Native Americans all the way through the Civil War, and then the history of the United States and New York State 2, which picks up at Reconstruction. It goes about till, we say current time, but more like the 1990s and the beginning of the 2000s. In the 9 through 12 framework, we see Global History and Geography 1, Global History and Geography 2, and kids take a Regents after that year. United States History and Government, students take a Regent after that year. Participation in Government and Civics, which is a half-year class. Economics, Enterprise System, and Finance, which is the other half-year class. Participation in Government is often called PIG, so if kids are talking about taking PIG, that's what they're talking about. There are other options for kids to take in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, but these are the state Regents classes where we see the framework that's written by New York State. And this came out in about 2014. So how do we engage in civic education? You can see there's just some random pictures there of different things that I was able to find. You know, we have graduates that are up there, Mike Fitzpatrick, Connor Cardillo. We have veterans that are there. We have superintendents and assistant superintendents. We have a board of education that is also a part of this. The music department, everything really contributes to what we do in civics to give kids a well-rounded civic education. So as I went around to the district and I was talking to some of the people, we started listing, because that's one of the kind of requirements, where do we see civics? So obviously we see it in the New York State curriculum, right? But we also see it every day in the elementary school and morning meetings, where they talk about what's gonna happen. Students have responsibilities, students have roles. Students learn how to be and get over disappointments of not being the line leader this month or this week, not being the spotlight student. All of those are part of civics. The Pledge of Allegiance, learning about US holidays, and they're all listed in year order, so starting with January and going into November. Voting in classes, students vote on a multitude of things in classes in addition to student government voting for different offices. We see assemblies, holidays around the world, career day and week, classroom debates, emphasis on fairness and equality, classroom reward system, the Dignity for All Student Act, homecoming, guest speakers, because part of civics is also learning how to be part of a community. And Hauppauge's unique. You know, Hauppauge doesn't have a downtown. Hauppauge has the schools. Hauppauge has everybody coming to these places and these events, and it's very unique, but it also builds community. And if you ever need anything from the Hauppauge community, you know that there's always a drive for everybody, there's fundraising, and there's really a lot of support for people. And it is a small enough community that we're able to do a lot of those things. So here, we talked about some of the students that are up there. These pictures were from 9/11, from also called Patriot Day. We have something from the Gratitude Jar from Bretton Woods. We have different awards that students have won. We also see class constitutions, interactive read-alouds, building level book of the month, the Choose Love program, community service in the elementary and middle school, Future Core, teaching self-advocacy, digital citizenship, which is something that's concentrated throughout K-5. Also in 6th grade, there's a component of that in 6th grade social studies through the library, and also in other areas in the students' education. We have the Youth and Community Alliance Club, Power of One, field trips. We used to take all seniors to 9/11, hoping that we'll be able to go back to that museum. It's a very powerful, powerful thing for students to see that. We have a program called Junior Achievement, where high school students take over an elementary school. We just completed one in Bretton Woods. We have one scheduled in February for Forest Brook, and one in the Pines in March. So it's really a great opportunity to see high school kids learning how to engage with younger kids and really give back to the community. We register all 11th graders to vote. So they have the option of registering to vote. We give them the tools if they want to take them home, talk to their parents about it, bring it back, and we mail them in. So civic engagement in the community, you could see Power of One run, you could see the Jingle Bell run, you could see the reopening of the Hauppauge Library, you could see Mrs. O'Connor as the Eagle, you could see students who won the Voices of Democracy, you could see sports, and we have the Upstander of the Month at the high school, a student that has shown that they are able to stand up for other students in the school. They get tickets to a Jets game, and it's really an important piece of what students are able to do. So we have awareness days, and this is just a small amount of them, right? Autism awareness, cancer, kindness matters, P.S. I love you, blood and food drives, clothing drives, clubs, Model UN, SAD, Students Against Destructive Decisions, social awareness, history club, ignition, DECA, natural helpers, ethics bowl, mock trial, and the list goes on and on. We have honor societies, Genes for Troops, community service requirement of 20 hours in the senior year, voting in classrooms across the district, fundraising, and those are just a small snippet of fundraising, right? Kicks for Cancer, scholarships, PTA, PTSA, sock drive for homeless, benefit concerts, auctions, cancer prevention, raffles, friends and families, essay competitions, Voices of Democracy, which we were able to give awards to the students that won that at the December board meeting, and also Friends of the Library. Students made cards for veterans, and really that whole idea of school as a community, to teach kids that you're part of a class, you're part of a family, you're part of a classroom, you're part of a school, you're part of a bigger community of Hauppauge School District. We have International Night that hopefully will be coming back after COVID is over, run by the world language groups. So civics is more than just what kids learn in social studies. Civics is what they're actively engaged in every day at Hauppauge, and we're so happy to be able to have kids involved in all of those things. So you can see here just some other types of fundraising that we've done, for scholarships, for Kicks for Cancer, and everything else. All this comes down to a new state pathway for students called the Seal of Civic Readiness. And in the Seal of Civic Readiness, students can use this seal to either use this as a 4+1, meaning that they take 4 regencies. They can take a social studies regents, English, math, science, and then a +1. And if they're not successful, say on one of the social studies regencies, they can take this as a humanities pathway, where they're going to work on their civics. They find a problem in the community, they look for solutions that they can do in the community, they write a paper on it, and they present it to a committee in the school that's able to say whether they get that or not. There's community service requirements, and it's really something where we're going to allow kids to have some different opportunities. In addition, it's also like the Seal of Biliteracy, it can sit on a diploma as an endorsement. So it's really a great opportunity for kids to get involved in what's going on in their own community. We're not part of the pilot. It was piloted this year. And as everything else, the pilot is changing some of the requirements. Some of the requirements are here. They have to earn a certain number of points.
Thank you. I think you're free. Oh, so close.
Mrs. Gordon, you said 11th graders. Have they registered to vote? They're 16.
So it's actually a new policy that the board adopted 2 years ago, right before COVID. They're doing what's called a pre-registration, registering to vote, because they felt that they could get more kids that might be more involved in wanting to vote in 11th grade. So we started that based on, Joe, just correct me from New York State Ed kind of brought that forward. So it is something that we've done. We started registering kids to vote though in Hauppauge many, many years before any of this, came about as kind of like a requirement. So we've really been on the cutting edge.
Like party affiliation and everything.
We don't do any of that. So what happens is, we give the kids the voter registration, we ask them to take it home, have a conversation with their parents, then we have an envelope that they drop it off in, and then that envelope ends up in my office, nobody looks at them, and we send them back. And I can prove that nobody looks at them, because last year, I sent them to the Board of Elections. The Board of Elections told me they cannot take them, because the signature line was cut off of the form, and so we had to re-register them in 12th grade
Very
this year.
structured process.
It is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from the board? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, did someone say something?
One of that ballot harvesting.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Is that ballot harvesting?
I don't know.
Okay.
Gene, is that ballot harvesting?
No.
All right, moving on. 5C on the agenda is the adoption of minutes from business meeting of January 11th, 2022. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Ms. Wolfmeyer, Dr. Pratt with the second. Any discussion? All those in favor? 7-0. Questions or comments from the community concerning tonight's agenda only? Moving to the consent agenda. Are there any items that members would like to have removed from the consent agenda? With that, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda in total. In total of number 7. Ms. Wolfmeyer makes a motion, Dr. Pratt seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? 7-0. Policies 8A and 8B are both on for first reading. Do any members have comments concerning A or B? Those will be returned to the policy committee for second reading. 8C is a adoption of the superintendent's regulation concerning policy 1120. I'll make a motion to approve that regulation. Ms. Capisi, seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? 7-0. Discussion matters, there are none today. New business, do any board members have new business? Mr. Scarito?
I just wanted to thank all the people that came and supported the 2023 graduating class fundraiser at Chipotle, Dr. Murphy, Mr. Gaston, other nice people came. I really appreciate that. I also want to thank once again, I'm here, crossing guards right now, security, the bus monitors right now out in the cold weather. I really appreciate the guests every morning. They're doing a great job. The last thing, and Rich, I'm not asking for answers now, but maybe for your next meeting, I know there's a lot of big headlines that we got $4 billion in state funding, 7% boost in state aid. If we can find out the numbers that's going to affect Hauppauge, I know it's not, we don't get these big numbers. If we can find out what our school gets extra, than what our community tends to do, that's something I'd like to get for your next meeting. That's possible. Okay. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Scarito. Any other new business from board members? Administration have any new business?
No.
Questions and comments from the community concerning anything related to the district whatsoever? Should you wish to be heard, please step up to the podium. Speakers will have 3 minutes, and if it's a group concern, if you want to have a spokesperson speak on behalf of the group, that's great. Otherwise, if anyone has anything to say, please step up to the podium. Very good. With that, I'll take a motion for an adjournment.
I do want to say something, all right? So, one of the things I'm very concerned with is the testing.
Okay, so Mr. Giacchetti, go
The
ahead.
testing procedure that we have going on for the unvaccinated staff members at Hauppauge. I'm not concerned whether, about the virus. What I'm concerned about is it's driving insurance costs through the roof. They're charging a crazy amount. We're testing many people once a week. I think it's time that we send a letter and ask for an update to see what their plan is, because I know we raised insurance rates, which is going to hurt all of us, the teachers and the community as well. For one single test, they're charging almost $1,000, and they're getting paid $244. And then now they've been adding a PA to the testing centers. Now they've been charging more and getting close to $420 per test. It's only going to drive our insurance costs crazy. We also have a lot of lots of extra. We've been given tests on site, so if someone is not feeling well, they can go grab a test in the nurse's office or whatever, and find out from a quick result whether or not they should stay in the building or not. I think at this point we should ask for an update from the state to see what their plan is. The original plan was that they would notify us and let us know. We haven't heard anything, so I'd like to know what's going on with the testing. You basically police yourselves in these matters. I know there were some districts that didn't start their testing till well into December. There were some that started in September. We started somewhere in the middle of that. At this point, I don't think it matters whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated. The virus is spreading, right? You get it either way. So I think it's also a waste of time for our staff to have to be tested on a weekly basis. But most importantly, it's driving up insurance costs.
So Kev, I just want to be clear what you're asking. Tell me exactly what you're asking.
So the original legislation, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Murphy, is that there was going to be some sort of update, supposedly right after the holidays. We haven't received any update.
You're talking about an update from Albany?
Update from Albany. And then if we don't get the update, then let's come up with our own plan and maybe just use the test kits we have on site if people are ill, as we're doing for the vaccinated staff members and individuals.
And your concern is that driving up insurance costs?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any further questions or comments from anyone? Yes. Could you state your name, please?
Hi, my name is Stephen Carniel.
Hey, Steve.
I'm here today to speak in support of mask wearing in our schools and to make sure the board is aware that while we may be part of a less vocal group, that there are people in the community that are concerned about us not following CDC guidelines. I believe we're all here for the same purpose. We are here to advocate for what we think is best for our children and our community. The argument that many put before us about parent choice and whether or not to mask their children. But the entire point of having everyone mask is that it works best when we all do it together. It is about thinking about our community and our families, not only ourselves, but our teachers, our parents, our grandparents, and our neighbors. We are not taking away a choice. We are trying to work together to get us through to the other side of this pandemic. I know it's something that we all want. We have laws against smoking in our public places for the same reason. Someone else's choice to smoke can cause illness to bystanders. We implement similar laws and regulations as ways to protect our community. For example, we are required to wear a seatbelt when driving a car. We can take our shoes off while being screened aboard an airplane, and it is a crime to drive a car under the influence of drugs and alcohol. One can argue all of these examples are personal choices. However, as a society, we determined that there are limits to personal choice when it infringes upon the safety and well-being of the community and people surrounding you. Some parents continue to argue that it's their choice to unmask their children, but their choice has greater implications for others. When I ask you to wear a mask, you have to be a little discomfort. But by unmasking your children, you're putting my children's and others' health at risk. Masking is simply a physical barrier that is a proven and effective tool for reducing the spread of infectious disease. While I intend to have my child wear a mask, mask wearing is most effective when everyone wears a mask. Multiple studies have shown that wearing a mask prevents your droplets from traveling. Droplets from unmasked persons can travel up to 12 feet in less than 50 seconds and can linger in the air for up to 3 hours. Our best defense is to make sure that all parties are masked. By masking, we are protecting each other. By masking, we are showing that we are supporting our community and respect and care for people around us.
Sir, I'm going to ask you to finish up, okay?
Almost done.
Yep.
For our children in school, that is probably one of the greatest lessons we can teach. The fastest we tackle this problem in the community, we can reduce global transmission rate. And the fastest we can all return back to the normal lives that we all enjoy and the freedoms that we hold sacred as a community and as Americans.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments from
Yeah, just
anyone?
one question.
Yes.
Thank you, Frank Nolan. Masks are stupid. If you think so, you're ignorant. But my question is,
Come on, Frank.
Is there a reason for that?
I'm so sorry, thank you, Mr. Story. I think this school does an excellent job honoring its veterans. As a veteran myself, American history, you guys are awesome. Everything you said, I love. My question, the only one bullet point, and maybe it's just me being triggered, the equity and fairness part.
Oh,
That's not like CRT.
No,
Yes,
that's
just
teaching,
expand on it?
sure, if it's okay.
Yes,
So that's
absolutely.
that's talking about in the classroom, we're in the elementary school, talking about equity, that everybody gets a chance.
Oh, all right.
Everybody, and fairness being that you're not the line leader for the whole month, and I'm not the line leader, that's what we're
I think it was
talking
just me being triggered.
about.
by it.
No,
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I didn't come here intending to speak, but I talked about masks. Oh, Jamestown, nice to meet you all. I didn't come here to speak tonight, but the masking guy kind of got on my nerves, so I had to come
All
up
right,
here.
so.
Make sure we
hang
have
on,
pleasure. I'm
James,
speaking,
James,
please. Yeah.
James, I'm speaking.
Yeah,
Let's just, address me, let's not attack each other, everyone's got their own.
I'm not attacked, okay.
No, you did attack, so just address me.
All right, fine. All I'm gonna say is that personal choice is what this country was based on, freedom. Now, I can talk about seatbelts, any other sorts of regulations, but this is why I wasn't prepared tonight, but there's two things I'm getting worried about. Number one, freedom, not to be masked, because we're all having to wear masks in front of our faces, even though no one wants to. It's unnatural, number one. Number two, I don't think these masks are having any effectiveness on who's getting COVID and who's not. I mean, my mother is was a masker, and what happened, she gets COVID, now she's in the hospital, even though she's wearing a mask, just like N95 mask. And number two, it's hurting kids. Kids today, it's not natural for a 3, 4, 5-year-old to have to walk around with a cloth over their face. I know when I was a kid, even up to a teenager, it would have caused trauma and everything else. We're teaching kids to be afraid, they're becoming neurotic. It's something we need to look at. Now, I understand that the school here is under state regulations, you can't do anything about it. I just had to make sure that the anti-mask position had the last words. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to be heard? Yes.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
My name is Kim Capicillo. Totally different topic. My daughter is a student at Hauppauge High School, and she's part of the ESS program. For anybody who doesn't know what that is, it's Essential School Solutions. I don't know if everybody on the board is familiar with it, but I just want to say it is not only so long overdue, but one of the best programs that I've come across. They support, for anybody who doesn't know, children that have everything from academic to mental to emotional support, which I think, especially now, these times, is so needed. And I've had such a wonderful experience with. My daughter absolutely relies on it, and I speak on behalf of a lot of the parents whose children go to this, how wonderful it is. And I hope the board considers keeping it in the school. I hope that they expand it. I think it's such a wonderful program, and I can only speak for myself and my family. It's been a lifesaver. So I just want to thank the board for allowing this program to enter into Hauppauge. I believe we're the only ones, maybe in Suffolk, maybe even in ESSA, that has it. And I just want to say it is so welcome and so needed. It's not going to blow up, is it?
Sorry.
Don't be
You
sorry.
can have as much time as you want.
That's okay. I just want to say, anybody who is not familiar with the ESS program in the Hauppauge High School needs to look into it. It's a wonderful program. Like I said, it's for mental, emotional, academic support. It's a safe place for your student, your child to go to with a problem, an issue, and just support in general. And I just want to thank the board. It is a wonderful, wonderful program. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Diaz.
Hello, everyone. A lot of my friends sit before me here, so obviously I'll always be respectful. I'm the assistant varsity baseball coach and football coach at Hauppauge High School. And I want to share with you what I experienced today. So I currently are responsible right now with training off season, so I coach, I'd say, between 60 and 80 kids. So today we were in the weight room, probably about 20 kids. I got to talk to a handful of them who told me, you know, right to my face that today was the best day they had in 2 years. And to go home and see my 8-year-old kid without a rash on his face today from it being his cloth mask getting wet and rubbing against his face was priceless. So now the nighttime comes, and to be told that tomorrow, after dangling this in front of them today, that tomorrow we now must go back to being the same puppets we've been for 2 years, when everybody knows the mask we wear don't do anything. Unless you have a retrofitted N95 mask professionally fit, it doesn't do nothing. So we talk about science. So when are we gonna follow science? Vaccinated people, everybody has COVID. I bet you there's nobody in this room that could name 5 people you know that do not have COVID. 5 people that do not have it. Everyone's gotten it. Every kid in the school has gotten it. So what I'm asking is, why can't we be Connecticut, Sachem, Massapequa, and let's start pulling together a group of school districts that are gonna stand together and fight against this dictator that's leading the charge in New York State. Because it's not right, it's not fair. It's child abuse at this point.
Yes.
It's child abuse. Everything I come here, I stop my business every day at 2 o'clock to get to this school. You know what? I gave up my salary years ago when we had to make the cuts versus the coaches. I don't care. I'm here, I'm the first one in and the last one out, and I do it all for the kids. What can we do to make these kids live a normal life? Because that's what matters. They're going on their whole high school career. They're gonna have to wear masks. All they've done is gotten yelled at. Everybody yells at them, put the mask over your nose, put the mask over. They've been yelled at for years. It's just not right. The happiest part of these kids' day is out on a baseball field and a football field with me, which most likely that's gonna be the best part of their day, but you know what? They shouldn't have to be tortured during the day. All right, I love everything you guys did. You know, a lot of you guys are my friends. Don, I commend you. You've done a wonderful job. You've been a blessing to the district. Let's look out and let's fight for our kids, because nobody else is gonna fight for them if we don't. And that's all I'm asking.
Any further questions or comments from anyone concerning anything related to the district whatsoever? With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Our next meeting is February 8th, 2022. Business meeting, and I believe it starts budget season. Mr. Kiley with motion. Waltmeyer seconds. Any discussion? We need. Yeah, so executive session will start exactly at 8:45 p.m. Supervisor Legal Counsel, call the vote on the adjournment. All those in favor? 7-0. Executive session will begin in 8 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today.
At this point, we should.